Hi everyone, welcome back to our very first Northeast Project educational video. This series is basically going to include a set of videos as to reasons why and the running terms that we do in our sessions. And today we're going to be talking about lactate threshold, so let's jump into it as to the reason why we exactly train at threshold and the effects that it has within the body. Now the first question we have to ask is, how do we train at threshold? And threshold is around 82 to 88% of your maximum heart rate. Most commonly known as comfortably hard if you wanted to put a literature term on it, but if not, then scientific value, it's 82 to 88% of your maximum heart rate. Compared to an easy run at around 60% of maximum heart rate, it's around a 25% increase from easy run to lactate threshold training. Now if you were to measure the amount of lactate within the body just at currently rest, sitting here watching this video, you'd see around 1 millimole of lactate in the body. The body is always producing lactate and it's always clearing at the same time, which is why it's often called the accumulation of lactate, which basically means how fast can it A, be produced and also B, be cleared from the body to be used in cells and ultimately restored and replenished into energy. Typically at rest and at easy runs in a steady state running, the amount of lactate produced in the body is very linear and it just stays the same at a very low intensity, simply because your body is not differencing in that accumulation. So the difference between how fast you're producing it and how fast you're clearing it. At a low intensity, that doesn't change, so it's very level. As you run at a higher intensity, the lactate accumulation within the body hits a certain spike, and it's before that spike that we want to be training at that speed. Training at that speed before that spike is a steady state of lactate accumulation, which is where our lactate thresholds typically are. Now the question you're probably asking is, what sort of speed is that? Well, typically you can race around 1 hour at that speed, so that steady state of lactate accumulation before you hit that spike, you can race that speed around the hour. So for the faster runners, this typically tends to be more towards half marathon pace or just a touch slower, and for those who are running at a slower pace, around the 10k pace. So for example, if you can run a 10k in an hour, your lactate threshold is going to be exactly your 10k pace, because it's the pace you can sustain for an hour. So as you can see in this graph here, the question is, how can we move that lactate accumulation spike from a lower point to a higher point, so to be able to run at a faster speed before we hit that spike. Like every physiological function in the body, to be able to increase that threshold, we have to stress that threshold and train at that specific intensity. Therefore, it's the exact same with lactate threshold. If you can train at your threshold pace just before that spike, then ultimately you'll be able to increase the speed that you're running at before you hit that spike, which is ultimately why you all have this different lactate threshold paces personable to you. This is why it's so important to stick to your own threshold pace, and my threshold pace is completely different compared to everyone else watching this video, and vice versa. Your threshold pace is completely different to mine, so therefore it's really important that you stick at your threshold pace that we set on your plans to be able to increase that threshold and that speed that you can run at before you hit that spike. During group sessions and running with other people, it's really easy to be able to get stuck into a race and be able to increase that pace. That just means you're hitting that spike really, really early and you're not actually reaping the benefits of what the session is supposed to be at. As I said in the first few seconds of the video, it's a comfortably hard pace, so it's not a flat out race, and that's where a lot of runners often go wrong, and it's really important that we hold back and we stick at those maximum heart rate levels to then be able to reap the benefits and therefore improve our lactate threshold. And there we go everyone, there's the explanation of lactate threshold and why you should be training at your threshold pace and the benefits that it has in the body. So leave a comment down below as to what video you'd like to see next and what explanations that we can do to help you out to ultimately improve your knowledge of the sport and also allow you to understand as to why you're training these specific paces and just why you're doing specific stuff that we are telling you to do. So thank you very much for watching everyone, and we will see you in the next video.